Jason and Austin, we're gathered here on this August day. It's actually October. And we've got a little conference coming up. And it's our sixth one. It is called what?
Jesus and Politics.
Not Jesus versus politics.
Right, because that was the Quaker interpretation down there.
The Quaker view.
In Quaker Haven. Yeah. Right. So not many people know that, but the inner camp memo that went around called our conference Jesus Against Politics.
I did not know that.
Yeah, John Moody caught it. He's like, hey, you guys want to hear something funny?
So they really appreciated how it actually
they had to.
Beautiful.
You know, the Quakers had to. There was no other option.
So this is our sixth one. The first one was in 2020. It was totally last minute. I can't remember. Did you MC that one?
Yeah.
You did a great job. Everybody likes your MCing stuff, you know, because you're funny and quick. And
I'm thinking about going full time.
Well, I would. Master of Ceremonies.
As a hip hop MC.
Oh, one of those. So Jesus and Politics, down with that, yo. That'd be great.
That's exactly.
We'll consider that for next year. Yeah.
Just think about it.
Yeah. So, long story short, we've had some great speakers over the years. In fact, my dear friend Bill Yorka spoke on the first one. There's only one man besides myself who has been on the stage at each and every one, and that's Pastor Joe Spurgeon. And the longer he goes on, the more people say, there's a good dude. Mm-hmm. And I can't agree with that. He's a great dude. He's a good friend. And so he'll be coming. And the only other person that we're bringing in from outside of our area is John Harris. Now, I just got to spend the week with him, not last week, the week before, at the Music and Masculinity Conference. Had a really good time. So John's coming out, and actually he's staying over Sunday so we can work on his new record on Monday. It's one of those blitzkrieg sing and play sessions. But this year, what I wanted to do is, not because we didn't get people showing up, not because it was, losing money or anything, but keep it local. And so I've asked Jason to be one of the speakers. Now, it's interesting. Syracuse Baptist Church actually is putting on the conference, but we have it at your building now, mm-hmm. and will for the foreseeable future. You know why? Because you got a better building than we do, and it's free.
It's free.
Bingo.
It's a good combination.
But also, the folks at your church are wonderful. Pitch right in. You can always count on the folks there, and they're, mm-hmm. It's the thing is, we've got this loose, unofficial affiliation of three churches because we do stuff together and we like each other. Mm-hmm. So Jason Gingerich, you're the pastor of Maple Grove Church, and Austin Kaufman, you're the pastor of First Brethren Church, whose that auditorium we are as we speak.
Welcome.
I'm just breaking the 10th commandment. Oh, wow.
I'm so envious.
Look at this stained glass, high ceiling. You even have a balcony.
Shall I turn on the organ?
Well, you better. Hey, by the way, I wasn't able to make the hymn sing in September. We were up in Michigan, and I was just exhausted. But the hymn sing in, what was it, June or May?
Yeah, June.
Dude, your organist is killer.
He is killer. Yeah.
Phenomenal.
Not only do we have an organ, we have somebody to play the organ.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So, no, and funny story.
That's a wicked combination.
This is the only instrument he has ever played his entire life. He grew up in the church. He learned on that organ. He's played that organ for 50-some years.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
what a blessing. Yeah.
That's some faithfulness right there.
Yep.
Our pianist Judy has been at Syracuse Baptist since '94.
Wow.
And when I came there, one of my biggest supporters. So, yep. So let's talk a little bit about first of all, Jesus and politics and the family. And I've assigned each one of you guys a certain topic. Austin, yours is
education.
Education. And why would we assign that to you?
Because I'm eminently educated. No, I'm not.
It's Austin Kaufman, DDM, PhD,
Yeah, perhaps because we are in the throes of educating our own kids. So our oldest will be 9 shortly, and then we have a gaggle behind that. We're expecting our 6th. So that's one of the things. But also I've been working in Christian education, homeschool, and we're working on starting a school, Lord willing, at some point.
Right.
Yeah, my heart's always been in it.
Yep. Yeah. If the communists understood it very well, if you control the education system, you control the next generation, you can revolutionize a country within a generation.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So one of the reasons I chose the family, and then by extension, educating the family, and then your topic is
The family and the church.
exactly. So when you have those two institutions that are thoroughly biblical, thoroughly Christianized, not infallible, no one is, but with those two, now you're reaching the next generation, at least the ones you're responsible for.
Right.
And the reason I obviously back to Austin, the reason I chose you for that, because I knew you had a heart for education, and not only for your own children, but the children of the church, children of the community. You know how it is, and you had told me this, 2 years ago or 2.5. I said, why don't you just start a Christian school? Well, working on it. However, a lot of people treat school, especially Christian school, as glorified babysitter.
Yep, that's
And
right.
and they don't do their parental duties
That's
as
right.
far as education goes.
Yep.
Yeah. And then the reason I chose you for the topic of politics in the church, the family and church, was because you are a churchman. The whole time I've known you, you're also a musician.
Sorta.
Competent.
Passable.
I play at jazz. But you're primarily a churchman. You're a pastor. You've also taught at a Christian university setting, a college setting. But you care about God's people. And I've seen that just over and over in your own life. Just for an example, I'll call him out of the blue. Hey, what's up? Well, I'm on the way to the hospital, Parkview North in Fort Wayne. Why? Because one of your congregants is sick, and you're going to be with them. You actually care about this stuff. Plus, we both have experienced something very weird, and I think you are too, called Reforming Grandma's Church. That's a whole nother podcast. Maybe we could pick that up with the three of us.
Yeah.
Because we each inherited a grandma's church.
Can I?
Yeah.
This actually was my grandma's church. My grandma actually attended this church. Not to steal the thunder or anything.
Austin, the podcast is not called Reforming My Grandma's Church.
Well, there's room.
Oh,
there's room there.
That's awesome. I knew you had a long
Lots of
family background
lots of family ties.
And so anyway, when we think about the family's relation to the political institutions as they exist, the church's relation, but then the family's relation to the church and how all of that interfaces, one of the principles I think that we're all have come to and come from is the primacy of localism and dealing with the issues that you have immediate proximity to.
Right.
I remember years ago, guys trying to appeal to the Good Samaritan as a reason why we should send money overseas. No, the Good Samaritan, the Samaritan saw this guy beat up, and he's literally in front of him, at his feet.
Yeah.
Right.
Love your neighbor. Not that you wouldn't help people overseas, but that's got to be voluntary. And so you think about the people in your own church, beginning in your family, those souls for whom God has given you care, and the delicate balancing act of being a pastor, whether you're trying to ascertain whether these are whitewashed tombs you're talking to or a genuine, okay, this is a smoldering wick. I got to be careful.
Yeah.
This is a
Yeah.
bruised reed. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about, first we'll talk about the church's relation to politics in general, because that's now becoming sort of a different conversation. We're all aware that the Overton window has shifted and is still shifting away from what some have called the post-war consensus. I think it has more to do with the myth of neutrality. I'll use Schaeffer's language. You know, the naked public square. Everybody comes together and it's very Hegelian. You have your thesis, you have your antithesis, and we all work together like at the bargaining table, and from that comes a new thesis which can then be opposed by some other Yahoo, right? Rather than that, now we're saying, okay, there has to be equal weights in the bag. For years, African American churches have blatantly platformed political candidates, filled the pulpit, promoted candidates full on, and now, for some reason, they're saying, oh, I guess everyone can do that too. What's the problem with that model, though, Jason?
Well, the church isn't a political institution, for one.
Right.
I mean, of course, politics is all of life. It permeates every sphere. But that's the purpose of the church is not to push political ideology. The purpose of the church is to glorify Christ, to make disciples, which is going to have a huge impact on political ideology down the road, and we want to speak to that. And we don't want anyone to come to the church and say, here's the topics you can talk about, and here's what you can't talk about, and this is off limits for you, and this is not, to Charlie Kirk gets assassinated, and they go, well, he was very closely identified with Donald Trump, so you can't talk about
So you
him.
can't talk about that.
We're going to have to talk about that. But at the same time, we're not, as soon as we tie ourselves into one political stream, we've kind of abandoned the whole plot already. And that's not the same thing as saying the Republicans, the Democrats are equally, they both got their issues. So
that's an important distinction to make right there. It's not the same thing as trying to say, hey, look, no one's perfect. Jesus wasn't a Republican. John Wayne and all that nonsense.
Right.
It's a different topic.
I've said from the pulpit, well, obviously you're not free to vote Democrat.
Right.
Their platform is opposed to God. It's wicked.
Oh, no, I'm just kidding.
It doesn't go over with everybody, but we can say that. We ought to say that. We ought to speak the truth boldly into every sphere of life.
What happens when a church or pastor refuses to address the elephant in the room? What happens?
Well,
poop gets everywhere.
You're not pastoring the people in front of you, for one, because these are the things that you're pastoring real people in a real place in a real time.
Right.
It's like Jesus saying, "Well, you remember when the tower fell on those people?"
It's prudential.
This is what's going on, and we have to be able to say something about it. And so I don't know. I heard the word pastoral malpractice being thrown around during Charlie Kirk. I saw all the things. If your pastor didn't do this, you need to leave. And I'm thinking, okay, but did he show up at your house at 3 a.m. when you were in a crisis? Maybe pump the brakes.
Maybe you
pal.
can pump the brakes a little. Yeah.
But so I don't want to use language like that. But I would say I felt for myself it would be if I didn't address it.
Yeah.
Like, how can I not address? Our people are reeling from this. They've witnessed something horrible, and aimed at a guy who's not believing different things than we're believing.
And they're also witnessing a response that 20 years ago no one would have predicted.
Yeah.
That there are people on college campuses and in newsrooms saying, and dare I say, people at the Gospel Coalition who are saying, if only you were more sweetly disposed, you would be alive today. Nonsense.
Yeah.
It's utter nonsense.
Yeah.
So in other words, what I hear you saying is that the function of the church is primarily the proclamation of God's word. Because I was thinking about this too on the way up. I have lots of thoughts. Some of them stay, some go. This one stayed. So we all are pastors of kind of a particular cultural manifestation of what we call the evangelical church.
Right.
So when you gather together on a Lord's Day, Austin,
Yep.
do you start with some announcements?
Of course.
And then what happens?
Then there's a call to worship.
And there's a call to worship.
Mm-hmm.
That's not normal
Right.
anymore. In the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit. When you sing songs, who's running the PowerPoint projector?
One of our deacons. But
Well, you actually have one.
we actually
You guys are modern, but I notice you have hymnals in your pews.
That's right. Yeah.
You have hymnals in your pews.
Yeah.
We're so small. I just thought it would be too much hassle to have an overhead, so we don't. However, that being said, we definitely, and this is to your point about the people in the pews and how they were affected by this wicked act of an assassin using political terrorism, because that's what it is. He's trying to say this man was spreading political thoughts that I deem to be so bad that it justifies me taking him out. I mean, he had to think through that. Mm-hmm. But we tend to draw not just a certain kind of Christian, but a certain kind of family into our churches.
That's right.
And, I was talking with my assistant pastor, Matt Smith, and he was thinking, do you think that that's because we talk about this stuff? And I said, man, I hope it's not just that. I hope it's the primacy of the proclaimed word, expository verse by verse, making again prudential comments as the text allows, and having an atmosphere that is encouraging not only to young Gen Z men but to young families to keep doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
Have you found that people are coming here?
Yeah, I think in talking about the Charlie Kirk scenario, one of the things when you keep politics out of the church completely as a conversation, you miss the opportunity to do like what you're saying, to actually bring God's word to bear in a way that everybody is dealing with that week. In our case, we had a fair mixture of folks, some that knew what happened and were, like you said, reeling from it, young families, young men in particular. But then we had a whole slice of our congregation that had no idea who Charlie Kirk was.
Wow.
Had no idea
Yeah.
even what this whole thing was all about. And that was a moment for me as a pastor to be able to say, no, we should care about this.
Yeah.
Yes, this is in the political arena, but this is an opportunity to talk about what righteousness is, what wickedness is, and how the righteous respond to wickedness.
Yeah. Yep.
So I think you miss out so many opportunities as in discipleship, really, when you segregate a massive portion of daily life outside where it's off limits. I think he who shall not be named, Doug Wilson, said this last week, no fly zones. Who are we to think that we can create no fly zones against the Almighty?
Right.
When the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. So I think we can't give up that opportunity for discipleship for our folks with things that they are dealing with day in and day out.
Right. Good point. And we love Doug. He's a friend. He says stuff that's cool. So that's another version of Kuyper's not one square inch principles.
Yep.
So part of what we do is bring these ideas down and explain them in a way that most people are going to be able to understand it.
Yeah.
And we're also assuming that most of the people in the room, they're already like-minded enough and they've been there long enough to where they understand. I was speaking with someone recently and they said, well, I just can't come to your church because of your commitment to Reformed theology. And it's not as if every Lord's Day we're going over the Synod of Dort and the Remonstrance and the five heads of doctrine, although I've heard that there are guys that do that. But it's almost more like the air you breathe.
Right.
Yeah.
And you've already made a doctrinal commitment. You're not talking about that. So then that's back to, okay, and I'm pretty sure most of the people in this room understand the difference between the role of the church as primarily word and sacrament and the role of the magistrate as handing out speeding tickets and executing murderers and rapists.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the way I explain it is just how you were talking. The primary function of the church is not to have Hillary Clinton come in and bloviate for 20 minutes behind a pulpit, which has happened. It's ridiculous. It's also not primarily to have a 4th of July celebration with fireworks and, she's a grand old flag. No, we don't hand out speeding tickets. The magistrate doesn't tell us how often to observe the Lord's Supper or what to preach.
Right.
And that all got confused 5 years ago when the magistrate said, you're not essential. You can't meet.
Right.
So where were you 5 years ago when Jesus in Politics first started humbly in October of 2020? Because I thought, oh my goodness, let's talk about this stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was there actually the first year, but I think I think I barely knew any of you at that time.
I think I met you there. You came up and
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you were literally came down to Syracuse. Said, what in the world's going on?
Yep. Yeah. No, and it was God's providence for me being. I mean, I'm still young, I think. Despite the missing follicles, but
what are these follicles?
It was providential that 5 years ago for working through what this connection is and how we're supposed to think about the way that Christ does push into all the corners of life. And I think for me at the moment, I'm like many who got the wrong end of the stick when all that started, and thought, yep, we need to love our neighbor, we need to shut down everything, and it's just funny how you sort through. There's a lot of, I think when you talk about whether politics interacts with faith or not, there's a lot of differing motives that come to play. So I look back at my own experience during that time. Part of it was I was working at the church part-time. I was working another job. I was teaching full-time at a Christian school. I was just tired. So the idea of getting to stay at home with my family, actually, this is, okay, we could do that. And so I think there's a lot of different things that come to bear of why people keep things, whether it's that, the dear beloved aunt that around the Thanksgiving table, that if you mention anything about, the Democrats, she's voted Democrat for 75 years or whatever.
She's an FDR Democrat.
That's right. And you don't want to upset, you don't want to. So I think there's so many of those different things. But I think what it taught me, and Jesus in Politics has helped me work this out on a local scale, is that, the world is nuts out there, and if Fox News land, I don't even know. I can't. I just don't even go there. We don't even have cable, or any. Is cable a thing anymore? I don't know.
As a dish, I just helped my mom. This is on Roku. This is through the internet. You can watch Fox anytime you want.
But to see that, actually, no, we're talking about. Do my students in my classroom have to wear masks all the time? Should that be something that they have to do or don't have to do?
Right.
Can a student, in my case, at this point in time, can a student just decide that, hey, I'm feeling a little under the weather, and so I'm not going to be showing up for class for the next 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
So. Yeah, I think it was a learning curve for all of us, but I think if it was a providential learning curve to now we're a little bit more equipped to think through these things. Still learning, but
Sure. So 2020 was definitely a weird time, and then the election was decreed, and then 21, 22, 23. And you're starting to see some pretty pretty dangerous trends regarding speaking truth. I'm with Rod Martin. Thank God Elon bought X. I mean, it was providential in the right kind of way. However, so let's go back to the idea of, the power, the strength, the authority of the civil magistrate. And we're talking about how that interfaces, again, with families and with the church, right? And you had these wildly divergent opinions coming from the evangelical leadership. And one was, well, let's just say, for the reasons they put out there and the actions they did, our church is no longer affiliated with 9 Marks. Can't do it. And the other one was, this guy named Matt Truella wrote a book about the lesser magistrate and the responsibility of the lesser magistrate, which is, there's a hierarchy, there's chain of command. Vice President Vance doesn't tell Donald Trump what he's going to do. It's the other way around. I'm sure they talk together and work, but there's a chain of command. And Matt made the case that in no way does, the civil magistrate have the authority to tell the church anything, especially in a constitutional republic like we have. That's what we have. This is the law of the land. And B, that if the county sheriff is completely opposed to the dictates of the governor, you're overstepping your bounds, then that sheriff has the responsibility, not just he should or can, but he has the duty to confront the governor on that area and take his lumps.
Right.
That's what kind of a man does that? Well, a man with character and courage,
right?
So then something happened in 24 that nobody really predicted. I mean, certainly we didn't have any inkling that Don, he's a good friend. We hang out. Not visited the island with him, but I'm kidding. But everyone to a man said, "Oh, this is a slam dunk." Here's this candidate, did not win one primary. In fact, got beat, trounced soundly. But here she is. Here's your candidate. And yet, what happened? Is this one of those God raises up one king and puts down another? I mean, it was just amazing. I couldn't believe it. So as a result of political will being exercised, our culture is changing.
Yeah.
Now, how many times have you heard? You've heard me personally say, politics is downstream from culture. Mm-hmm. Am I wrong? I'm happy to be corrected. Or is there a synergistic relation between politics and culture?
Yeah,
what do you think?
Well, yeah, of course there is. I mean, it's the loudest voices that are the smallest minority. Look at everything that's happened in the LGBTQ plus movement. I don't know if there's new additions to that.
You bigot
acronym.
You forgot the K.
Something. They got to have something for these people that are like.
Think about what the K is.
I don't either.
Cats now.
Cats with a K.
K for cat.
Oh,
yeah.
K for cat.
K
F,
for cat.
furry.
But
Right.
it's a statistical, traditionally very small group that has, through political will and cunning and strategy, positioned themselves to be incredibly powerful and to, people will lose their jobs if they. I mean, just like that, you point out the fact that this small minority has gained an incredible amount of power and influence in the culture, and somebody says, well, you're a bigot for even saying that.
Right.
The result of that then, and so politics is downstream from culture, and then culture in turn is influenced again when it comes back around from the politics. And so now you're just seeing this downward spiral of, it's either going to spiral up or spiral down.
Right. Right.
It's spiraling down. We want it to spiral up. We're seeing some good things where politics is being influenced by the culture, which is now having even more emboldening effect on the culture. That can go in either direction.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. I think you look at. I think the concept of the silent majority comes into play, because the question is, right, was it really just that there was a very loud minority that bullied everybody to the point where you thought that you were in the minority, when in reality they just had the bullhorn? And I think to some extent that folks needed a loudspeaker that was saying things that they thought from the stage, and then that kind of activated.
That encourages.
It does.
Yeah.
I think on the other hand, though, too, one of the things about politics, right, is, and maybe you disagree with this, but I think there's a political wind that if they find out, if I mention the name of Jesus from the stage, I get applause from a section of the demographic that I'd really love to vote for me. So in that sense, the culture, the voting bloc, influences politics, because now you've got politicians saying things that otherwise would not make it onto the teleprompter. Right. Before that. So I think that synergistic thing does happen, but I want to say, that in this land that we love, that there are people who have not lit their hair on fire and do have their head screwed on straight. And so when they find out that, maybe I'm not actually a bigot for believing that men are men and women are women,
right?
Then that comes out of the woodwork, and shame on us for having retreated.
Well, exactly,
100%,
exactly.
But also, look at I think perhaps some of the design of this whole scenario, where when you get somebody who will speak truth in the public square, now it's an exponential type of a reaction.
So to that point, just think of the Hans Christian Andersen story, The Emperor's New Clothes. The whole thing is built on an illusion, and built on each member of the king's cabinet, their own vanity, convincing them that if they, only those who are intelligent and qualified for their jobs can see what beautiful pattern, and it's literally nothing there. And the whole thing keeps snowballing until the whole place is saying, this is wonderful, let's give him more money. And then the king decides he's going to have a parade and publicly display his new clothes. And he's walking down the street buck naked. And no one's saying anything. No one says anything until some kid, the emperor has new clothes. And before you know it, everyone's saying, and they're laughing at him and stuff. So it goes to the old adage that as long as there are teenage boys with no filter, there are going to be two things that are truisms. One, there's going to be some kind of music that's too abrasive for their own parents. And number two, that's so gay is not a compliment. Right. Because they're not affected yet by the kind of realities that makes you want people to think you're super smart or qualified for your job.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. And this is part of what it means to lead a church through trials, like I believe the early 2020s were a trial. Because you're like, again, you're being pressured into thinking that your normal Christian views, which everybody thought 40 years ago, this is evil.
Right.
Not just we don't care for these things, but you're downright wicked. I've had people say, well, I'm going to pray for you. I'm like, why? I believe the whole Bible. I think it all applies. What's your problem? Yeah. So one of the things we can think about too as the conference comes up is this is specifically we designate money in our budget for outreach, even though this isn't an evangelistic opportunity. Although every opportunity is, you're always going to bring the gospel to bear. Right. If it wasn't for Adam's sin, then we wouldn't need politics, the affairs of the people, because everyone would just do unto others and it'd be grand. Well, give me a break. And the other thing is that we want people to be encouraged and encouraged to do the right thing in the face of opposition. Mm-hmm. So what, Jason, we'll go to the topic of politics in the church. What do you see? You're not a prophet or the son of a prophet, Amos, but what do you see as one or two of the temptations that modern, here it is, October of 2025, Bible-believing churches, what are some of the temptations they have in light of what's going on in our culture?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I think the call is to be a prophet. That's, we don't, not in my charismatic upbringing sense of the word prophet, but that's our call. And that's why we must speak to politics. Right. But we also must, the big things I'm seeing, whether it be in the local church, which is my primary concern, right. But in the world of like X and the way, believers interact with each other, Reform guys interact. We've got this pretty small group that's the Reformed world, and it's like, well, half hates the other half. But I think there's cowardice on the one hand, cowardice and blindness. Somehow we've either gone along with the lie, or we're so afraid to speak the truth that we just don't do it. I think both things are prevalent. It's like, in that hideous strength, Lewis, they're trying to talk about how they're going to take everything over, and what about all the smart people and the ones who have really elevated? And they're like, oh, those are the easy ones. It's the working man that we have a problem with, right? Because he doesn't buy it, And so,
what about those teenage boys that don't think before they speak?
And so we've got the need for courage, and there's a recovery of some things that have been lost due to either blindness or lack of courage. The recovery of patriarchy, the recovery of traditional roles for men and women, the recovery of actually the Lord has blessed us to live in the time and place we live. This nation, we should not be ashamed. We should actually praise the Lord. We should desire a Christian nation. We should desire what we saw at the Charlie Kirk Memorial to see
talk.
Politicians.
This is crazy talk.
What a strange. But to see the politicians feel pressure to I should work the gospel into my thing here.
Right.
Even if it's for the motives that you.
Yeah.
Right. So that exactly. So when it comes to the church and politics and society, the whole notion of there being this massive cast iron wall that nothing can permeate is all nonsense.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of another word. I dare not say it. Skubulon is kind of related. That is simply not the case.
Yeah.
No one thought that until, again, we better not do that because we could have another World War II. People get all amped up. It's part of the post-war consensus of secularism, of neutrality, and of nations being not really nations, but more of a global family.
Right. And we're not saying we're taking our cues in the church from Donald Trump.
Right.
Or even someone I like better, J.D. Vance. We're taking our views from him. We're absolutely not.
Right.
But when people dispute, but that's not real salvation, it's okay, great. Come to Topeka, the town I live in, and get a flat tire in the winter.
Yes.
At 10 o'clock at night.
Yep.
And see how that goes for you, and tell me if you'd rather have had that happen anywhere else in the world. Because you're going to have people. We've got a community of many nominal Christians, a large Amish community who there are some genuinely trusting in Christ there, but that is a fairly evil religious system that is binding people. and they will jump to help you. They
Right.
will spring to your effort,
Right.
and it's because the Christian community we've built. We are at the expense of the town going to be having a hymn sing right in the middle of town in November, just like we did last year. They're putting it all together.
The city doesn't foot that
The
bill.
Goshen doesn't?
Goshen
They don't
doesn't
do
pay
that
for
for
you
us.
guys? That's weird.
So we're
Because you
not.
got a girl mayor, you know.
Yeah, she should.
I figured she'd be all
She'd want
empathetic
that.
and whatnot.
Yeah, so we're, it's not saying, well, everyone here's a Christian because of this, but
Right.
it's a pretty great place to live.
So what-
when the governor shuts the state down, and I call the town marshal and say, I'm going to be standing in the pulpit preaching, and he says, well, the governor's closed the state, and I say, I'm aware of that, and he says, do it.
Do it.
And when people called the police on us, which they did, he
Yeah.
told them, I'm not going over there. I'm not shutting them down.
Have you seen
Like,
that
this is-
guy? He will take me down in a heartbeat.
He's not a believer,
Right.
but he loves what we're doing. And so we want all those things. And so we want to be bold, we want to be prophetic, we want to speak the truth in every sphere of life. The other danger, though, is that we're prone to pendulum swings.
Yeah.
And so it's not just we're recovering this, we're getting we're going to go real weird about it. And we're like, not only have we recovered patriarchy, but my church, they sang a hymn this morning that was co-written by a woman.
Boy.
We don't go in for that. Like, what, you
With the
weirdo?
last name of Crosby.
Yeah. And I mean, people are really doing this stuff with every area. And so I think there's a real danger in the pendulum swing that has just gone too far into just being dorks and weird. And you got a bunch of smart people who are expert communicators communicating in ways that they know will confuse and anger people and refusing to own it.
Right.
They're doing it on purpose. And we're developing this culture with all the good things that are going on, where if you even point that out, if you even say, brother, show some maturity and restraint in the way you communicate, people are like,
they turn
you
on you.
coward,
Yeah.
you've obviously been feminized. And it's like, this to me is a real threat that
Right.
where there's this recovery of the good, it gets twisted to now people in the same local church are alienating their brothers and sisters, not because they have courage, they have an immature courage. There's a certain kind of courage that arrogance produces.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a brashness.
That's not
yeah.
real
Yeah.
courage. Instead of the courage that is marked by love and humility, and just devotion to the truth and care for other people, that leads to like, oh, I actually care if my words have deeply offended my brother or my sister unnecessarily.
Yeah.
I need to give some thought to how I'm communicating things. And it seems to me that there's a real lack of the ability to do that, which so I think it's funny, they're the polar opposites of the same issue, but that's what I see as I see that as a danger, not to the level of the danger that the left is posing, but
Well, right.
a real danger
Right.
that will just lead to this cycle going back to where, like, yeah, you've got the Jews figured out, but your wife and kids are miserable.
Exactly.
How do you think they're
Exactly.
going to, they're going to swing their pendulum as far away from you as they? And so there is a real. I think we're in a time where we need to mature.
So this is why at a conference like ours, we want to bring a mature, totally biblically based argument to some of these young thunder puppies.
Yeah.
Back in the day, it would have been, I've discovered the 5 points. Doubtless you have issues
Yeah.
with unconditional election. And you just want to go out there and grab everybody by the throat and here, this is what I know, right? So on one hand, yeah, I'm still dealing with people that any mention of the political realm, any involvement whatsoever is called mission drift.
Right.
In the SBC,
Yeah.
it's always the pressure, and of course, it's always leftward leaning. If you go there, well, that's okay because justice. I'm
Right.
like, okay, Can we talk about justice here for a while? So the same thing would apply to anyone who thinks he's got that certain people group all figured out. Okay, do you acknowledge the noetic effects of sin on all human beings?
Right.
Full stop.
Right.
I can take you to trailer parks where there's not one ethnic minority there, and it's a mess.
Right.
Generational unfaithfulness, physically and spiritually.
Right.
And it comes out in crystal meth factories.
Right.
I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know. At the same time, look what happened in Charlotte, North Carolina, and the words that came out of that guy's mouth.
Right.
Can you say that and say, listen, you got a problem. You have a big problem when this is somehow within the plausibility structure
Right.
to utter those words, well, you know. So we have, especially as pastors, we have a responsibility. You got to say, I have no idea why you're listening to that podcast. That guy doesn't even believe that Christ is God.
Yeah.
Why are you wasting your time? You know? And by the same token, and you probably have more white-haired people in your congregation, they've been trained and used to hearing not a fit topic for Christians.
Right.
You know, we just need to love one another.
Yeah, for
Right?
sure. Well, that's what I think, that pendulum swing. One of the things that the ironies of this whole situation that we're facing is that, like you said, the Thunder Puppies that have just in the last 2 months reached this full comprehensive knowledge of insert topic here are
Right.
now alienating themselves from men who have day in and day out grabbed their lunch pail at 4:30 in the morning, gone to work, come home, sat down for dinner with their family, faithfully gone to every T-ball game, showed up with at church with their family every Sunday, volunteered as a trustee at the church, and because that man thinks that you're super off base and weird for going hard on this one particular topic, you're going to call him a coward. Like that.
Right.
That's the weird. So one of the things that I love about a conference like this that is local is that we're not just getting the Thunder Puppies in the group, but we have the guys that been there, done that, cool your jet, Skippy, and that fellowship is really important.
Yeah. So to that point, then, there's the proverbial saying that one who puts on his armor shouldn't boast as the one who takes it off. In other words, talk is cheap.
Yeah.
And yes, I agree. When I see some of these protests and all they look like older versions of me out there, and they're all white and gray-haired and angry at everything. I'm like, yeah, clock's ticking, Lawrence. I don't know why I put that name, but Lawrence and Agnes, clock's ticking. You're going to be around for a while, Right. And at the same time, you want these younger guys. I mean, I'm good friends with John Harris. He's trying to say, guys, listen, God has put you in this place and at this time for your own good, so that you would do the works that God has foreordained beforehand should take place.
Great.
And you're going to black pill on the number one institution that God made so that people could grow and live and take godly dominion, the family.
Right.
Come on.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, it's tough. And let me tell you, I'm what they call a freshman boomer, born 60 through 65, four. So I'm the early class. I've got way more tendencies in common with early Gen X guys. So I don't trust the establishment as much. I don't buy what Walter Cronkite's saying. Boy, did I just date myself there. I remember seeing him on the Howard K. Smith. But at the same time, it's like, no one knows my references anymore.
No idea.
See, that means you're getting old. I could quote something from Burt Reynolds in the 70s, and everyone's like, anyway. But that being said, there are older men. Yes, they may be over here a little farther than you think. I've had guys online, who should know better, lumping me in with everyone who's out there in their big RVs, spending our children's inheritance.
Right. Yeah.
Like, you are speaking out of ignorance. You don't know what you're talking about. And this is something I've been about for many, many years, 25 at least, going back to the late 90s, so longer than that, of helping young men walk through what it means to be married, to raise their families, to be part of a local church. Mm-hmm. Let's face it, there are smart podcasters out there who people can take advice from, but they don't know that person,
right.
And that person doesn't know you.
Right.
When you're a pastor and you're trying to put the brakes on a car that's heading for the cliff and it gets real, that's not the same thing. Mm-hmm. You know, I often joke and say, well, no one bats 1,000. You know, you're going to have a sermon or even a counseling session. You're okay. I shouldn't have said that. Please forgive me. You know, you're real. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it's like, listen, leadership's important. It's baked into God's created order. This lovely church building is located within a city that is desperately trying to throw off the bounds of God's law. Mm-hmm. And they have been for many, many years. That's right. You know. And like Jason and I, we live in the Shire.
You do.
You're kind of over there in Isengard, you know. You follow that.
Yeah.
However, again, God providentially, in His timing, puts us where we're supposed to be.
Right.
He did it because you're young.
Yeah.
Still have energy.
Still, right. We do stupid things without thinking about it. Or, I mean, we do good things without thinking about some of the hard. Yeah. No, I think it's exactly right. And one of the things that we've seen by being where we're at is that it in some ways it's a little bit of a microcosm of the way that the world is around us right now, because right, we're in a city that, you know, I can point out to you. I know them by seeing them often at the coffee shop. 3 trans people within the city limits. I can tell you where they work.
You can always spot them anyway.
Well, right, and you know,
men make ugly women.
Ugliest women ever.
What do you know? Right, so we're within that, and then at the same time, we have these young folks in their 20s that show up to church on Sunday, don't know a single thing about Reformed theology. I had one couple. We sat down, we had them over for dinner. They visited a couple times. And you know, I just said, so when was it that you came across this stuff? Like, where was it a John Piper? And they're like, we don't know what is Reformed theology.
What are you talking about?
I said, wait a minute, you've never. I said, how did you get where? He's like, well, 2 years ago we started reading our Bible through the two of us together, cover to cover. And you know, and so then they come and they say, okay, yeah, this is that. And,
this is that.
And then they look around and they see children in the pews and they say, oh, okay, so this is a people that don't actually hate kids,
right?
That they actually consider them to be blessings, and that's attractive in the midst of, Goshen's weird. You know, when you try to explain to somebody how we have Mennonites in the city who have an LGBTQ drag show on the Christian college campus.
Yeah.
And then we have Mennonites just a couple miles outside of the city who still drive horse and buggies and have 11 children. Yep. That just blows people's minds. They can't understand it. So it's a unique area in a lot of ways, but that stark contrast in a lot of ways makes a place like what we hope by God's grace to establish here, where it's just normal people that believe normal things, and they feel like, okay, I don't have to go sell my Honda Civic so that I can drive a tractor with steel wheels, but I also don't have to go dye my hair purple in order to love Jesus. You know, I think the sanity level is really helpful when you look at what the church needs, what the culture needs, is just people that are not weird, like you said.
See this, and that brings me back to it's 10 o'clock, snowing out, and you have a flat tire.
Yeah.
Where do you want to live? Do you want to live in Mayberry?
Right.
Or do you want to live off of Stony Island, south side of Chicago?
Right.
I'm going to take Mayberry every time.
Oh, you bet, yeah.
You know, the plausibility of someone actually helping you without having nefarious motives, way higher in a Mayberry or a Topeka, even a Syracuse.
Yeah.
Syracuse is a weird town too, because we're about 3,200 people year round, except for summer when it goes balloons up to about 11,000 because of the lake.
Lakers.
But Lakers. Hey, we don't complain. They keep the lights on
yeah.
the other 9 months, right? But yet it's still basic normal stuff, and this is where this shift from this is what should be normal. Anytime anyone makes a complaint about Pete Hegseth, what's the very next post? It's going to be those 4 panels of the 4 main military leaders in the last 4 years. One's got a dog mask on because he's a freak. One's a tranny, ugliest women in the world. One's got this weird, looks like a lampshade over his head because of the COVID rules. And the other one I can't remember. But it's like, don't even talk to me about what you think is normal in a military fighting force or in leadership. These guys have more fruit salad on their left side than Eisenhower ever had and have accomplished nothing. So it's like, no, don't talk to me about normal. When I think of normal, you know, I know many of the folks in your church. I know a few in yours. Like you say, when you see children and they're not crazy. Well, I've told this story to our church millions of times. But one of the things that is so vital about living the Christian life is that you've got 2 things going on. You've got the balance between making sure that you're not tainted by the world, and you're godly, but you're also not the weird homeschool family where all the denim dresses and, you know, we've all seen these people. You ever go to homeschool day up at Six Flags in Chicago? Man, you see everything from the denim skirt brigade to a dad bumming a cigarette from his teenage son because they couldn't cut it. They couldn't cut it in public school. You know, you get the whole swath. We're somewhere in a good middle where you're balancing. Okay, you're not a savant. Okay, whatever, but you're also not proclaiming this kind of worldly, which is against God, against His law. We always define sin in reference to God's law. I think that's important. But there's this kind of a lackadaisical. We're so cool. We're too cool for you guys, you know. So we have all these families in our church, and they've come to our churches because, hey, you've got a priority on education. You guys have a wonderful homeschool co-op going on. You've been doing it for years. You also have a church that is set up to primarily disciple the people that are there, to bring the fullness of God's revelation in all of its terror and wonderful comfort. It's all of one piece, you know. And I found that, you know, I haven't been a pastor. I didn't come to the pastorate until I was almost 46 years old, you know. So I was relatively late. I mean, you're what, 39 now? 49.
Wow.
I know, he doesn't look it. And you're what, 33?
31.
31. I have no concept of beards.
It's intentional. It's a diversion.
It's a good look for you too.
Yeah, thanks.
I've just found that if people can watch and observe Christians in the wild, and they're normal people, it will provoke the greatest. What's the greatest question? Any evangelical, especially my generation, you know, my hope is built on nothing less than Schofield Notes and Moody Press. You know, what is my generation, right? What do Christians just long for? That question of, hey, something's different about you. You know, I have literally had that question broached to me as I'm, you know, in the studio, or my little girls come in, kiss daddy goodnight, whatever, how I interact with my wife. And even at the church level, you know, my wife is just a wonderful Titus II woman. She's vivacious in all the right ways, full of life, cares about these young moms. And it's interesting, back to the the individual church cultures and how our churches get together so well, there's definitely a vibe shift, and old is the new.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep, definitely.
And I think old is the new both with education and with church life. I think people are tired of plastic, temporary, passing fads. I think they want they want gold, silver, precious stones that they can rely on.
Yeah.
So let's tie this up. You're going to be speaking on the family, and it's primarily its interface with the church, but then also how that plays into the political realm. Austin, you're going to be dealing with Christian and education. Give like a 2-minute summary of where you want to go with your talk. Just wet people's whistle.
Oh, man.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah. Well,
nothing like putting you on the spot.
I got nothing. Now, I mean, some of the things we've been talking about here have really been what's in my mind, and we're in a weird time as a family right now with our daughters going through cancer, and that is just all-consuming.
Yeah.
One of the gifts in it is you see, here's what really matters, and here's what really doesn't matter so much. Mm-hmm. And you find, she's been holding fast to, she's 25, has aggressive breast cancer, and she has been holding fast to, like, God is sovereign and God is good. Mm-hmm. And I hate this, but I trust him. And I know he's not being mean to me. And and there's this, like, these foundational truths of Reformed theology are a soft pillow for her to lay her head on, and for us as well.
Yeah.
But we're not going to sit around and talk about, like, I just want to make sure you really do understand, though, the fine points of doctrine here. That's not what she needs. And you realize, like, that's not what's sustaining us either.
Right.
And there's all these things that you get passionate about. In God's mercy, preaching through the Gospel of Mark, the first Sunday after her diagnosis was Jairus coming to Jesus and saying, "My little daughter is dying."
Oh, dude, how did you do it?
Then the woman touches Jesus in the crowd, and Jesus touches her and says, "Daughter."
Yeah.
And I'm working on that sermon, sitting in the Cancer Institute in Fort Wayne, going, "How am I going to do this?"
Yeah.
But it's been God's grace. The Sunday after Charlie Kirk was killed, my passage was the murder of John the Baptist. And
it is not lawful.
I think that God provides what we need, but the issue is that there are these things that we get, like, they become so inflated. This is the biggest deal. I got to invest myself in this, and I got to throw myself into this. And it's not the stuff of real life that people are living with.
Yeah.
It's really not. And it's far more important that you lead your family well than that you've got your finger on the pulse of the issues in our nation and in our world. And it doesn't mean you bury your head in the sand.
Yeah.
And part of leading our family is to see what the dangers are, and what I understand all of that. But we're ministering to people who are living real lives in the real world. Right. And there are events that happen, and somebody who's been through something or is going through something, I can just tell you, going through what we've been going through the last few months with our daughter, I see this stuff online with people, and I'm like, you stinking idiots. What are you doing?
No idea. Right?
You dorks.
It pales in comparison.
This means nothing.
Yeah.
And, and so that's been my heart, because I was once that young guy who was, if I'd come to Maple Grove 20 years ago, I'd have destroyed it. I was so like, we got to do this, and we got to, so I have a heart for these guys. But angry young man is not a biblical category.
Right.
It's something we should understand, but it's something to be discipled out of and to grow out of. It's not something to cater to. And so we need to focus on what matters and what's real in our families, in our churches. And That's what I've been ruminating on as I've been
Stewing,
putting the early work on this, and at the same time thinking, I'm not sure exactly what Tim was looking for, so I could be putting things together that are not at all what he, but...
I doubt that very much, very much. You know me, I was always the temperate voice of
always
reason.
a gentle,
The soul of tact.
some would say soft presence.
I just haven't heard that one. That's it. That's the one. Austin, so
Yeah,
book learning, good. Life lessons, good.
that's right. Yeah, I think I was trying to think about what the audience would be like, because in some sense there are Christians that need to just be convinced that no, you may not send your kids to government schools.
Right.
And
Yeah.
that's important. We have to get that message out. That has to be believed.
Absolutely.
But just perchance, the folks that are going to show up to Jesus in Politics are maybe already convinced of that. We'll
Sure.
hit that briefly. We've pulled our kids out of government schools, or maybe never sent them in the first place.
Yeah.
Now what? It's not enough to just avoid the danger there. Right? Christianity is not all just about huddling in a corner somewhere and making sure that none of us get tainted by the world. Right? If we actually believe in that post-mill hope, then that has to apply to education. So I'm gonna mainly talk about excellence in education as being a Christian duty. So we're this is something that we can't do the homeschool thing so that we can all just stay in our pajamas all day long and maybe do a couple read a couple stories together and call it school. That's no way to create Christian leaders for the next generation.
That's right.
So if we're really looking at what it's like to have a Christian nation, what it's like to have Christian influence in all spheres of life, whether that be in the trades, the government, the medical field, wherever it is, then that means moms and dads in particular, putting as much or more energy behind the excellence of their children's education as they are putting behind their understanding of the post-war consensus or of even their small business strategy. Because that's the great part about this is, I think because things have shifted, we're not talking to a group of folks that are in any way lazy overall with the Christian faith. I mean, we're talking to people who have woken up. They get it. But this is one area that I see that I think we need to stoke the fire underneath us and to connect the dots more between what you're doing now with your 6-year-old being what you hope the nation is in 50 years.
Yeah, that's good. Both of those are good. I just piggyback on that. I think one of the best things that we did in our own children's education, and they were K through 12, was to teach them how to think not only in biblical categories but in logical categories, to be able to recognize fallacies, to recognize where there's a hitch in the argument, giddy up, that you can recognize that. Some would call it like more presuppositional reasoning or whatever. Sure. But it's still, I still see that paying off. So, you can take in all the data, and if you can't think straight, the data is going to be interpreted wildly weird.
Yeah.
So, well, listen, guys, wonderful. We're gonna eat lunch now, aren't we?
That's great.
And speaking of lunch, there will be lunch provided at Jesus in Politics 6, courtesy of the fine women of our 3 churches, and maybe even a guy. I heard something about beef brisket.
Heyo.
I feel real good about that.
As an add-on, he says, "Hey, would it be cool if I smoked a I'm going to stop you right there. It would not only be cool, but I think it should be reserved for the speakers table."
Yeah,
I agree.
Okay. All right.
Decided.
It's decided. So, just want to invite you. This is the first time I've looked at the camera. Hey. I want to invite you and your family to Jesus in Politics 6, Politics in the Family. It'll be had at Topeka, Indiana, which is a beautiful, beautiful little town. and you can get a flat tire there and get it fixed for free.
You will get a flat tire there because we got a lot of buggy nails on
All
there.
the buggy nails, right, and all the RV and manufactured home construction. It's at Maple Grove Church from 10 o'clock in the morning to 5 in the evening. We're planning on a nice long Q&A panel discussion. And it's Saturday, October 25th. I didn't say that already. Free admission. You don't have to register. You get fed. I guarantee you're going to learn a lot of good things and have a good time hanging out with people. And you might even be challenged in some of your own views of Jesus and politics. This is Tim Bushong, and I'll say adieu for now.